Really?
Yeah, that's what she said.
Okay. All right. I'm Tim Morgan. This is Alice Morgan. We're in Anchorage, Alaska. Alice is from Wainwright, Alaska, which is just outside of Barrow. We're going to read out of Strange Stories of Alaska and the Yukon. And it's by Ed Farrell. The Haunted Mine. That's a good one. In the summer of 1850, a party of prospectors from the south came up the Similkameen River and went into the mountains at the head of the river, where they remained all summer, returning in the fall. They showed very rich gold specimens to a man named Walker, who at the time was the only white settler on the Similkameen River. They told Walker that they had struck a rich gold quartz ledge. The next year they came again with a much larger party and a big pack train. They went north as before, but had never seen nor heard from again. Until a short time ago, no one ever located the golden ledge again. Had it not been for an Indian woman, it might never have been found. This woman was the wife of a remittance man named Horace Parker Manley, who was nicknamed Parky. He had a friend, Mike Widrow, who had a homestead nearby. It was at a time when the grass was so short that both families were living on roots that Parky's wife told her grandfather used to boast that he knew where the white man's golden ledge was, and also to hint in a vague way of knowing what became of the white man who found it. The information fired the mining instinct of Widrow. There were possibilities in it for grub and whiskey, and Mike used to say that if it panned out all right, they would buy enough rum to float a ship. The younger Indians also became excited about the prospects of lots of potlatch and convinced the old man to reveal the location of the mine. Grandfather scratched a map on the ground showing where the ledge was located. The Indians knew the general area, but the mine was located in an area that they considered bad medicine. The Indians guided Manley and Widrow to a small creek, an affluent of the Tulameen River. They refused to go any farther, as they said the place was guarded by evil spirits. The wife's grandfather had given them directions on how to get to the mine from where the Indians had camped on the creek. The white men were to follow the creek up to a small bench covered with white rocks. The cabin had been built on the bench at one time, but it had been burned. After the cabin site, they were to look directly across the creek and they would see a hole in the mountain. That was the place. Parky and Mike had little trouble in finding the mine. The mouth of the old tunnel had caved in and the debris from the mountain had covered up the old workings. Yet there was a small opening by which they were able to get into the tunnel. In the entrance, Mike found a piece of quartz so rich that he couldn't believe his eyes. On striking a light and looking around, they were startled to see human bones scattered on the floor. They counted 7 skulls, which showed that at least 7 persons had perished there. Taking a few quartz specimens, they returned to the bench and made camp. They looked at the samples they had found and speculated how many thousands of dollars it would run to the ton. Then they slept. How long they slept, they didn't know. But sometime during the night, they were startled from their sleep by a yell so loud and savage that it brought them to their feet in an instant. Before they realized where the sound was coming from, it was again repeated, accompanied by Indian war cries. Then the sharp reports of rifles and pistols seemed to come from the side of the cabin. The air was filled with groans and yells. They were in the midst of battle, fought by unseen combatants. Overcome by terror, Manley and Widrow fled down the canyon. They went back to Granite, and Mike told the story in the saloon. "Boys," he said, "I lost my clothes and came near losing my life, but I saved the pocket of my jumper."
He finally got his gloves on. That's a good thing,
the pocket and dumped the contents on the bar. There was no question
now
of the
be
richness.
careful, you guys. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
There was no question of the richness. Mike told the story of how they were driven away by ghosts, and how they had most of their clothes torn off in the night, and in their mad flight through the bushes and rocks. But ghosts or no ghosts, the rich specimens were there to prove that they had found the rich mine. And a party was made up to return to the mine. The group was to be guided by Manley and Widrow. It included Father John, a preacher who had founded a mission in the Northwest from a land grant from the Canadian government. For reasons not clear, Mike Widrow shot and killed Parky Manley. The other miners took Manley back to the settlement, and he was tried before Judge Backus, better known as Old Hang'em. The judge lived up to his name because in 6 short weeks, Widrow was tried and sent to the gallows. To the credit of Father John, be it said that he never deserted Mike Widrow, but stayed with him to the end. The rest of the miners said that his only interest in Mike was to learn where the mine was located. Judge Murphy continued, "I know this is not true, for although Father John makes excursions into the mountains each year, he always returns empty-handed. Yes, the mine is still there, somewhere near a small stream that flows into the Tulameen River." The end.